What's going on, everyone? Welcome to yet another review slash recap slash whatever you want to call it of the 2020 NHL play-in rounds. This time we're going to discuss Florida against the Islanders, Pittsburgh against Montreal, the biggest upset probably so far in the series, and the Jets versus Calgary, probably also an upset. So these will be different. They will be relatively short and condensed as I was watching different games. In case of Florida and the Islanders, I was watching the Hawks versus the Oilers, and with Pittsburgh and Montreal, I was half watching it as I had other things to do, and the Jets versus Calgary, same story there. So the Panthers against the Islanders, probably the game I'm least excited about during these play-in series. However, it was very much a game of both teams feeling each other out first, see what one team would do, and then responding, and vice versa. But the Panthers did actually look much better than they did against Tampa Bay, especially Sergei Bobrovsky, who I thought had a really good game, but they still need to improve if they want to reach the playoffs at all. And the Islanders, on the other hand, weren't terrible, but they wasted so many chances, especially Brock Nelson, I think, in my opinion, and they will need to make the most of them if Florida gets its act together for Game 2 and 3 and so on. So the Isles score after 12 minutes rather, with Gigi Pajot opening the score. Both teams were playing hard and fast, some big hits here and there, but it truly needed a goal to open up. We didn't really see that much offense overall in the first and second periods. Barkov and Huberdeau didn't really turn up yet, but the time for New York to strike was then, and they didn't really capitalize on that opportunity. So the Panthers came out of their shell later in the first period, but they remained relatively ineffective. Varlamov was sharp in goal. That was a really good sign for the Islanders. Hopefully for the Islanders, he can continue that form and potentially go into the playoffs first round and potentially even in the second round. However, there were too many back and forths of the puck being dropped into the offensive zone, losing it, and back and forth. That really needs to change for both teams, because when coming up against better teams offensively and defensively, they will get punished for that. So the first period ended 1-0, although I do expect one game in this series to truly be a floodgate of goals, to be goals galore with 6, 7, perhaps even 8 or 9 goals. So the second period should have seen the Panthers risking a little more on the offense, but also therefore leaving some more space for the Islanders to attack, and it did not really disappoint, as Anthony Beauvillier doubled the score just 4 minutes into the second period with a power play goal on a Mike Matheson hit to the head. That probably should have been a 5-minute major. Johnny Boychuk did not recover from that hit. He did not participate in the rest of the game. I hope he's well and good. I hope he can participate in the second and third game, but we'll see about that. Again, Simon Varlamov had an excellent night. Bobrovsky looked like a liability at some points at the beginning, but truly was really good in the second and third period. They came up huge 30 seconds before the end of the second period to keep the score 2-0 and to keep Florida in the game potentially. And I thought this could have been a turning point, and it was, but it wasn't, as Huberdeau scored 5-4 23 seconds into the third. But that truly was it for the game. The Islanders, the Panthers both did not go on to score. And again, they were feeling each other out a lot, but both need to be more daring on the offense and more secure defensively. Goalkeeping on both sides was really good, but it remains to be seen how they will play out, if one team will change up tactically, and if one does, I expect, again, to have a series with quite a lot of goals, actually. On to Pittsburgh and Montreal, probably the biggest upset so far, and probably the biggest upset we'll have at all. Obviously, it's just one game, it's not an entire series. I still expect Pittsburgh to go through, and I expect Arizona to be the team to pull off an upset series win over Nashville. We'll see about that. So the first goal was a hot mess by Tristan Murray, I think, in my opinion. Jesperi Kotkaniemi scored with 8:33 left in the first. I can't really say it was deserved, as Montreal was being outshot 10-2 just prior before the goal. But that was pretty much the story of the game, with Pittsburgh having more opportunities, creating more chances, but just not capitalizing on them. Montreal made the most of their chances, and Nick Suzuki actually converted 7 minutes into the second with Montreal's 12th shot of the game with a perfectly placed wrister. But it was truly terrible defending by Letang, just giving him acres of space to skate into, lots of time to get his shot off. And from there on, 2-0 against the Canadiens probably is a mountain to climb as they go to defend the lead with everything that they've got. So Pittsburgh would reduce the deficit just over 3 minutes later with a Crosby wrister, and less than 3 minutes after that, Brian Rust would actually score on the power play to make it even. But that would basically be it for the rest of regulation, as Carey Price once again would prove his worth. And somewhere between Rust's goal and the Canadiens' OT goal, we had 2 howlers from Drouin and Sheary on penalty shots, but I guess that evened out. Sheary just completely missing the net, Drouin just completely missing his dribble and losing the puck. But much like the Rangers, the Penguins' third period just seemed a little void of urgency and was a little lackluster. But the Canadiens would take the first game with a Jeff Petrie goal in OT, and after some unspectacular defending once again from the Pittsburgh Penguins, that needs to be fixed. But I'm not too unduly worried about Pittsburgh defense. Obviously, they've got experience both on the offense and on the defense. The goalkeeping is questionable with Jarry and Murray. It'll be interesting to see again if Jarry gets his place for the playing round or if Murray will keep his place. I don't really expect Montreal to win more than one game in the series. They might actually do it. Perhaps they might win 2, but I don't expect them to win the series at all. Pittsburgh, though, needs to be careful. They can't afford to rest on their laurels or expect their offense to do enough to win the series, or they'll, again, continue to concede goals with very few shots, and they'll just get outplayed. I still think Pittsburgh will go through, however. I'm excited about the series now with Montreal being 1-0 up. Montreal will probably push for a second, and once they get a second win in a best-of-5 series, anything can happen truly. And then we go into the Jets versus Calgary, and I expected an exciting offensive matchup, and I wasn't disappointed, at least on Calgary's end of things. The Jets truly were terrible. Cam Talbot was in net for the Flames. I did expect David Riddick, but it seems to have been the correct choice so far, and I expect Talbot to remain in net for the second game and probably a third as well. Andrew Copp opened the score for the Jets, but it seems that the Jets later on wanted to skate the puck into the net. They missed so many shots, seemed a little slow at times, and even on defense. Shifley got injured on a Matthew Tkachuk hit 8 minutes into the first. I think it was just an accident and it happens. But it's really terrible news for the Jets and for their offensive line. They have huge depth, but obviously with Shifley out and later on Patrick Laine, it changes things up a little for the Jets, and perhaps they're not favourites anymore in the series with Calgary being 1-0 up and having lost Shifley and probably Laine for the rest of the series. So the first period ended 1-0 and the Jets wouldn't do much afterwards. Gaudreau equalised at the 27th minute mark on a power play on Calgary's 19th shot of the game. So it actually took Calgary more shots to score than the Jets had over 3 periods. Then the Flames went on to score 2 minutes later on a PK with a 24th, and Backlund would find the net for a third time for Calgary on a power play with about 2 minutes left on the second with a 26th shot. So 7 shots to score 3 goals truly encapsulates the Jets' problems, that they can defend the lead, but once they concede a goal, it just really truly falls apart. And the offensive depth, although really good, now has been reduced, and it'll be interesting to see what they do defensively, even with probably the best goaltender in the league in Connor Hellebuck. So as I said, Patrick Laine also left the ice injured, holding his wrist after a Mark Giordano slash. It'll be, I don't know if he'll still participate during the series, but if he doesn't, that's another huge loss for the Jets, having lost 2 of their best players up front. So the third goal truly exemplified also what the Jets' problem is. Equally, with all 4 skaters on a penalty kill practically against the boards, leaving about 70% of the ice to other Flames players to get the puck and calmly shoot the puck into the net as they did. The Flames then score the 4th on the empty net. So the series is far from over with the offensive depth that the Jets have. But many people, including myself, perhaps underestimated the Flames. The injuries will also cast serious doubts over the Jets' chances if they do not return, which seems to be the case for Scheifele. Probably also FLA. But when predicting the series, I thought that perhaps Calgary would go through, then the Jets, then Calgary, but I did settle for the Jets. However, it will be fascinating to see how the Jets cope with the injuries and their defensive problems. And it will also be interesting to see how Connor Hellebuck rediscovers his form, if he does, and if Gaudreau can actually shake the bad form from last year around and turn it up in the playoffs. So that was it for the 3 condensed games of Florida against the Islanders, Jets against the Flames, and Pittsburgh against Montreal. I thank you very much for watching. I've been Norman, and I'll see you soon.